Hello, this is a video of tips on how to assemble and use the QL0310 rail transit system that has trains and cars that are made from blocks and then a track that you can use. It is a remote control unit, so there is a receiver inside the locomotive, and it needs to be paired with the transponder or the control unit that you have. Now, in the basic layout for the instructions on how to build this train, I would actually recommend doing it a little bit out of sequence. What I would do is section 5 first. That is, I would assemble the train tracks and the accessory pieces that are associated with it. So we've got these little figures that are there. We've got the level crossing station. And we've got switches for the track that allow you to run on the inside and outside versions of the track that you have. Now, what I did just to make things a little bit easier is I mounted the tracks on a 4x4 1/4-inch piece of plywood. And the beauty in doing so is that you can then use wood screws. And what I used was number 4 flathead wood screws. I had a Robinson head. Number 4 is the yellow screwdriver, and a 1/2 inch long is just perfect. The screws fit into the countersunk holes on the track. You use 1 screw per piece, and less so on the curved section of the inner track. And you then have a stable configuration for using and playing with the train. And then all of these accessory pieces come in a single bag. So one of the reasons I like to do this first is you make a whole lot of progress fast, and you use up 4 of the bags of parts that come with the train assembly, because there's an overwhelming number of parts that you end up having. The second reason that I like to do the instruction or the construction of the rail line first is it gets you involved with setting the remote control and how to use the remote control on the device. And the essence of that is we've got this controller, which has 3 AA cell batteries in it. And then there's a battery box inside the locomotive that has an additional 6 batteries located inside. And the things to recognize is that depending on how you do your setup, you do all of the control with, the way I've got it set up is on the right side. So we've got a turn here that will control the speed of the train. So I can make it go faster and I can make it go slower. Now, the instructions for the train indicate that there are 7 discrete speeds. And what I found is it's a continuum. It's a potentiometer, and you just turn it to get the setting that you want to have. There is a reverse button, and the reverse button is located right here beside the stop button, which is the orange square button that you see. So you bring the train to a stop by pressing that button. And what you find is when you're trying to get the train to start up, you have to have a fair bit of energy to get the thing in motion because of the frictions that are involved. So you hear there's a high-speed whine. You have to overcome all of those frictions, just like on a rail train, and you just have to crank it up until you get the vehicle starting to move. And then once it starts to move, you'll end up getting more and more speed associated with the unit that you've got. So we've now got this, and we can do speed control that's out there. But what I found is when I followed the instructions just the way they were supposed to go, is I built the locomotive first, and I put in the battery box without really knowing that a battery box needed to have batteries in it. So put the box in, because you need to take the roof off of the locomotive when you want to change the batteries out when you're doing that. So that's kind of a couple of reasons why I like to do the train in that order. Now, just a couple other things that I can show you is that on the locomotive itself, there is a nice green LED that indicates that the train is on and using the internal power batteries from inside the locomotive. And it's just controlled by a little round switch that we've got at the back end of the locomotive. And so the LED goes off and then back on, so you know that you've got power and everything's working. And then we can see here when I start to turn it up. When there's no friction, then you find that the wheels on the train start to go very, very quickly, and then we got the speed, and we've got that all working. The other really important thing related to the remote control and the receiver that's located inside the locomotive is to make sure that they are tuned or paired so they're operating on the same frequency. And that's what this little switch is all about here. So there are 4 settings, 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the receiver that's located inside of the train, there is a setting for 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. So this is the receiver on the unit. On the back side of that is a set of switches, and you just make sure when you're building the locomotive, you remember what you put it in. One is as easy as any. Now, then inside the train as well, there is the battery box. The battery box looks like this. You see the green button on top. That's what turns the batteries on and off. And what you'll see is that coming from the chassis of the train, the drive wheels, there's a cable that runs up to the controller. And that cable can be put in one of 2 locations. It can be put on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. So the instructions here have it on the right-hand side. And what that means is that the right-hand side of your controller is going to do the control. If you had a bigger set and you had a second locomotive, you would be able to control that second locomotive by plugging the wheels for that locomotive into the left-hand side rather than the right-hand side, and then you could control both train locomotives with the one remote control. Now, what I found to be the easiest thing, because there's bags and bags of parts that come with a train like this, is I just got a bunch of pie plates from the dollar store, and I opened up all the bags and started to sort pieces. And I took the larger items or that were taking up a lot of space, or I took the most common items and I sort of put them in one place. And it made it easier to find the unique pieces that you need to go when you're going through each step of making the train itself. And then it's just a process of following the instructions from a very basic level where you've got the base unit of the train, and you start to assemble the blocks in order to create what you're looking for. Now, along the way, there's instructions for adding decals or stickers to the train units that you have. There's a lot of details. What I found was easier than doing it on the individual blocks is I waited until I had the cars assembled, and then I just put on the decals, the number 3 or the pinstriping and the various things that you have. And it worked just as well to do it that way rather than to always have to grab the sticker sheet in order to make all of that happen. The nice thing about doing it in the order that I'm suggesting is that you can have a working toy right once you've made the locomotive work. You don't have to worry about cars 2 and 3. You can play with the tracks and the remote control with just the locomotive to get a bit of enjoyment out of doing it rather than waiting until you've got all 3 things completed. The other thing that I noted is that it gets easier to build the individual cars. You learn things from the last car when you're doing it. But what I found was that by the time I got to the 3rd car, there was a few modest changes between the parts that were available and what was indicated in the instructions. So for example, on the 3rd car, the doors here at the end were supposed to be one solid and then one with a window, but I had more of just the solid windows and doors, so I used those in order to complete. And the same thing with the entry doors that we have for the train, compared to what you would see on, say, the locomotive, where there was 2 windowed ones to make it work. Minor details, it's just a matter of if you don't have all the parts exactly like they're showing you in the kit, use a little creativity and you can still put everything together. For me, this was meant to be a Christmas present for Xander, so my strategy was to have it all set and running so that he can play with the train first thing on Christmas morning. With Torin, I think he's really good at puzzles, and I think he's going to need some guidance on putting these cars together. But I think he would enjoy the sorting aspect, and I think he would find it really neat to actually put the pieces. It's very step by step. They show you the colors, they show you the parts that you need and the counts. So it's a matter of just working through like you would with any Lego project that you have. It just happens that this one is for a fairly complex arrangement of a train set to make it go. Anyway, hope this helps. I had a whole lot of fun putting it together, and I like playing it as much as, and I think Xander's going to have a lot of fun when he sees his. I hope Torin has a lot of fun when he does his as well. Anyway, bye for now.